Okay, Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Bass, I'm ready to get going whenever you are.
All right. Great. We will go ahead and bring this meeting to order. We were a little late coming out of closed session, so our apologies. We'll first start with our land acknowledgement. The city of South...
I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem, can we please get instructions on how we can access Spanish interpretation?
Yes, my apologies. If we could please get those instructions.
Thank you. The following message will repeat in Spanish. We are offering live interpretation in Spanish via our Zoom platform. To access our Spanish channel, press the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen where you will see a globe icon. Choose Spanish. If you're joining via Zoom smartphone app, select your language by clicking More with the three dots at the bottom of your screen. Select Language Interpretation and choose Spanish. Bienvenidos, estamos ofreciendo interpretación en español en vivo y en directo durante nuestra sesión en la plataforma Zoom. Para tener acceso a interpretación, oprima el icono del globo terráqueo al pie de su pantalla y seleccione Spanish o español según su formato. Si está uniéndose a nosotros vía Zoom en su teléfono inteligente, seleccione los tres puntitos al pie de su pantalla. Elija Interpretación de idiomas y pulse Spanish o español para activar su canal. Muchas gracias.
Great, thank you. We'll go ahead and start with our land acknowledgement. The city of South Lake Tahoe acknowledges the lands we occupy today are the lands and home of the Washishu, the people from here known today as the Washoe tribe of Nevada and California, a sovereign nation. Since the beginning of time and for thousands of years before the arrival of any other people, the Washoe lived here and cared for this place with values and intention that we can all learn from. On behalf of the City Council, I would like to acknowledge, thank, and honor the indigenous Washoe tribal communities that are the past, present, and future stewards of the Lake Tahoe Basin. With that, we'll call this meeting to order and move to our Pledge of Allegiance. All right, and Ms. Blankenship, can we do a roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Bass.
Here.
Councilmember Robbins.
Here.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Here.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
And Mayor Wallace is absent.
All right, and Ms. Stroud, a closed session report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Today we had 3 items on closed session. First was conference with legal counsel regarding anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation, 1 case, and council did vote 3-1 with Councilmember Jenkins voting no to initiate that litigation. So the defendants and other particulars shall, once formally commenced, be disclosed publicly. Second item was conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation regarding the Workers' Compensation Appeals Board case regarding former employee Erlinda Beltran, and we have no reportable action. And the third item was conference with legal counsel on existing litigation with the Workers' Compensation Appeals Board case regarding former employee Kyle Prince, and there is no reportable action. And I also have a report out from a prior closed session on March 18, 2025 regarding the case of William Araujo et al. Versus City of South Lake Tahoe, El Dorado County Superior Court case number 22CV0761. That case arose out of a police department pursuit of a stolen vehicle on October 1st, 2021, resulting in a vehicle accident and injuries to the plaintiffs. The parties have now finally settled this case with a fully executed settlement agreement as of July 30th, 2025. The terms of the settlement are that the plaintiffs will have dismissed the case with prejudice in exchange for total payment of $2 million, being $1 million per plaintiff. And I would also note that that amount is covered by our risk pool insurance through CIRA. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Stroud. At this time, we'll move to public communications. This is the public's opportunity to speak on any topic not listed on this agenda. Comments shall be limited to 4 minutes. In accordance with the Brown Act, the City Council cannot deliberate or vote on any matter raised under public communications, but may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed. With that, I'll look to the audience here in the public for any public comment. Sure, Mr. Mosier.
Good morning, Ed Moser, South Lake Tahoe. Might as well pick up where we left off. First thing is, I'd like to discuss the waste bins that we have, the green, blue, black garbage, green waste, and recyclable bins. Most of us have one, and you can get two or more or so for your property. Occasionally, and especially in spring or depending on your lot or where you live, you sometimes can fill 3 or 4 of them very easily in the space of the 2 weeks. And I put them out, and one time, and they said, "We'll pick it up this time," because I filled the blue one also, and the black one, and 3 or 4 other small ones. But anyway, they said that it's your decision, that you follow state law, and it's your decision. You tell South Tahoe Refuse what they have to do, and that if you want them to allow us to put green waste in the blue one, it's just the blue lid. It's not like a different container that uses a different dump system or anything. So, most people don't see the problem with that, of putting the blue, in lieu of the expense and having extra plastic and big things sitting in your garage or your yard. Having 2 or 3 of them, that to be able to use the blue and the black for green waste, or at least the blue ones. And so if it is your directive, to please, direct that and straighten that out to allow the citizens to put green waste in the blue ones. And the black ones would be nice too if you don't use it that much or have much garbage. So, because every 2 weeks, I can fill up in 1 week and fill up with just pine cones alone, let alone pine needles and other stuff. So if you could take that on, it'd be much appreciated and solve a lot of problems, and also with South Tahoe Refuse. The other thing is, I mentioned back when you were changing the lights on down on the highway, on Highway 50, and spent a good chunk of change to change the lights down there. To comply with a Dark Cities program. I've yet to see anybody down there, with their telescopes at night, but we'd like to see the lights in here changed, and in all your city offices wherever you have fluorescent. It's known for quite some years. I read a study back in the 70s of what fluorescent lighting used in a lab and with lab rats, and it ended up putting little hook curls, genetically changed their genetics there, and they ended up with little hooks on the end of their tails and stuff being exposed to fluorescent lighting. So it's been known for decades that fluorescent lighting is probably the least healthy form of lighting known to man. So, we'd like to see the lighting changed here for your health, our health, city workers' health, wherever it exists in city offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier. Anybody else in the room that would like to speak? Yeah, just if you could state your name for the record.
Good morning, Council. My name is Scott By. This is a request for ordinance to prevent bear depredation through responsible homeowner practices. City of South Lake Tahoe Council. My name is Scott By again, and I serve as a board member of the Bear League, as well as a volunteer responder to bear-related incidents here on the South Shore. Recently, a homeowner in the city of South Lake Tahoe requested that the California Department of Fish and Wildlife set a trap to kill a bear. In this case, it is a mother bear and her cub of the year. That request appears to have been approved, and the trap is now on site. Unfortunately, we know from long experience that our local bears are easily drawn to human-provided food sources. Over time, they learn that patrolling neighborhoods offers a quick and easy caloric boost. They are very adept at finding opportunities in unlocked garbage cans, unlocked car doors, open windows, and even open garages stocked with refrigerators or freezers full of tempting food. In truth, around 99% of these intrusions are the direct result of human error, leaving windows ajar, doors unlocked, or vehicles secured with food inside. Each oversight becomes a reward for the bear, reinforcing behavior that draws them into urban areas instead of keeping them foraging in the forest. Social media is filled almost daily with posts of showing bears entering homes through open doors or windows. While some view this as humorous or cute, the reality is tragic. These encounters often end with the bear's removal or death. We are asking the city to consider adopting some kind of program requiring homeowners to take basic preventative measures before a depredation permit can be issued by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. In fact, Fish and Wildlife Game Code, Section 4181, CCR Title 14, Section 401, states that before a depredation permit is issued, the permit shall contain information about why the permit was necessary, what efforts were made to solve the problem without killing the bear, the corrective actions that should be implemented to prevent a recurrence. The department emphasizes that this process requires information from the applicant whether any efforts, and if so, what efforts were made to solve the problem without the need for lethal action. It is uncertain any type of ordinance or statute could be implemented by the city and would need to be explored by the council and the legal counsel or department, since the state has authority over that. We also believe there is a place for education both for city residents and visitors alike on how to live in bear country. The recent adoption of bear-resistant trash containers is a good first step, but making a home bear safe is only as good as its weakest link. We believe in a robust code enforcement program would go a long way in helping curb the bear-human conflict issue. By prioritizing prevention, we can significantly reduce bear-human conflicts and save the lives of these remarkable animals. I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
I just have a few things. Kathy Zollinger, I'm also a Bear League responder, and I realize you guys have a ton of things to deal with that might seem more important than this, but it is a big thing, and I want to say thank you for the few things that you have done, which is new signs, bear crossing signs. When you go to a call where there's a dead bear, it's awful, and we've been to a lot of them, so we thank you for that. And also, the person who's in charge of the electronic sign has also allowed, in the busy times of the year, to have a warning for wildlife, so we appreciate that also. We would love to ask to be a part of maybe a working group if you guys, because I'm not sure if you guys would know like what would work or what would help, so we would ask maybe that you ask us to be part of that, since we are dozens of calls a week.
You can continue because there's two of you guys, so go right ahead.
Okay. Sorry, I got lost here. Okay. So a few other things on the thing that he didn't mention is locks on the recycle bins. People aren't rinsing them. They're all over the place. And we have talked to South Tahoe Refuge. They've not given a satisfaction response to that also. And we put a trail cam at the dump on the backside, which is wide open. And for 9 days, hour after hour, bears in and out of there on top of the trailers getting into so that just increases their, habituation to human food, which is the biggest part of this whole problem. So that's all I really have to say. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Anybody else in the room that would like to give public comment? Yes, sir. Go ahead and just state your name for the record.
Thank you for having me. My name is Dennis Cobb. I've visited Joe a few times. Anyway, I wasn't going to talk about it, but what they're talking about the bears, we're not encroaching on them. We are encroaching on them. They're not encroaching on us. But what I wanted to talk about is specifically out at Pope Beach about feeding the geese. It might be a good idea to have some more signs, do not feed the geese, because I think a lot of people don't see them. I've even got into it with a guy out there having his grandson feeding him bread. No. But the other thing is about the e-bikes on the trails, the bike trails. It says no motor vehicles, and they are electric motors. I'm not suggesting that nobody rides an e-bike on the trail. What I am concerned about is like 10-year-old kids on these bike trails going 40 miles an hour while there's women walking their babies and elderly people walking. That's not a good thing. And about the Keep Tahoe Blue, it's a little irritating to me to see boats spewing out pollution in this lake saying Keep Tahoe Blue, which there are electric motors, of course, trolling motors, and there's actually electric motors on some jet skis and some larger boats too. This lake it's a jewel. It's a prime thing in the whole world, and it needs to be kept clean. And there's a reason the visibility has dropped from over 100 feet to 60, and that's people are polluting it. And as far as on the bike trail, no speeding, there needs to be some signs to control the speed limit on the bike trails, which there are, to my knowledge, at least there's not, which, if someone wants to go 10 or 15 or whatever, that's fine, but if someone wants to go 40 or faster than that, that's crazy. And there should be some sort of licensing, and I don't even know if this is in your guys' jurisdiction or not, some sort of licensing for these young kids, like to have a license for a motorcycle. It is a motor, and there should be some sort of licensing. If an older adult has a license for a car, they don't need a license to ride an e-bike. But the tourists need to respect the right-of-way on these bike trails. They can't take up the whole trail and then get mad at you when you say on the left or coming through, which has happened to me repeatedly. Actually, I fell off my bike twice this weekend. One time it was not my fault, one time it was. I'm not even going to go into that. But the other thing is on the entrance to Pope Beach, it says 10 miles per hour. Nobody pays attention to that. I go in there almost every day on my bike, and they just zoom by me. And there should be some enforcement of that to stop people from. I've probably seen 500 people come through there, and I've seen one going 10. But anyway, that's all I had to say, and thank you very much for hearing everything. Have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Just state your name for the record.
My name is Brad Adams, and I'm a little nervous, so I may be reading through this a bit, but I want to make sure I get my points across. I'm here to advocate for the removal of the buffer requirements for previous vacation rental owners who were in good standing with the city before Measure T took effect. My family operated a vacation rental here for over 7 years in good standing prior to Measure T. 0 complaints, 0 violations. We lost our permit despite full compliance, and we applied right away during the priority registration period for former permittees in good standing. Our application was accepted, deemed complete, we paid the fees. I believed that meant that our permit would be issued as long as we passed our inspection. I did know that this was a first come, first served process. But what I did not understand is that this applied even after our permit was accepted, deemed complete, and fees were paid. That it could be denied even after acceptance simply because another property within the buffer of ours finished their inspection first. We scheduled our inspection 2 weeks out because I'm the primary caretaker of our 3 young girls. And I was waiting for my wife to have a day off work so that I could come out to Tahoe from Folsom for the inspection. Our inspection was set for last Friday, and on Tuesday I received an email saying that our permit was denied due to the buffer rule. We honestly felt completely blindsided. And the result was 2 longtime compliant operators both applied swiftly within the priority registration period. One indefinitely excluded over an inspection timing technicality. When approving this ordinance, the council chose to keep it as written rather than extend the moratorium. But it was also made clear that it could be amended later. I understand the challenges that you face in balancing community concerns with the fairness of property owners. And I appreciate that you had the foresight to leave room for adjustments. I believe the intent of creating a priority window for preferred applicants was not only to restore what was lost by Measure T, but also because these applicants have a proven track record of compliance and being responsible operators in the community. I urge the council to consider either removing the buffer restrictions, or creating an exception process for situations like this, where both applicants previously held VHR permits in good standing before Measure T, applied during the priority window, and were denied solely because of the buffer rule. This would prevent responsible, long-standing operators from being excluded due to arbitrary reasons. It would honor the intent of prioritizing former permit holders who followed the rules. In the current situation, former compliant vacation rentals are blocked from getting their permits back because of the buffer rule, while entirely new owners can obtain permits as long as no buffer exists around their property. I urge you to consider these changes and work towards amending the buffer rule or establishing a reasonable exception. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anybody else in the room? All right, seeing none, we'll go to Zoom.
Okay, I do see that we have two commenters. The first one is Melissa Soderston. Oh, I'm sorry. All I see is the chat feature. Mayor, can we take a brief, I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem, can we take a brief pause just so I can get the public commenters online?
Yeah, no
Okay,
worries.
thanks. And if you're on Zoom, we're just looking to change some settings so I can allow you to talk. So we'll just pause the meeting real quick. Okay. It's just, sorry. Scroll down to view the timer each time. To make. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, we have that resolved, so now I can allow people to talk. And first up, we have Ms. Soderston. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no problem. Can you hear me? I'm just glad to have this
Yep.
opportunity to speak through Zoom. That is a great
Yep.
platform for us to use. Melissa Soderston, South Lake Tahoe, California. I am also calling about the bears. I live in this neighborhood, and this bear brings her cub near our house all the time. I live in the State Streets in particular. And it's really just egregious that this is the second time that this trap has been set after so many community members were outspoken about this issue. She is not aggressive in any way. We've been working really hard to keep her in the meadow area behind the state streets. We actually had law enforcement, which that's another thing, is law enforcement time should not be wasted on these bear calls. So all these ordinances that we could put in place, law enforcement doesn't need to be called out, because when they're coming through the neighborhoods, blaring their sirens and stuff, I was out there, and I am not a member of the Bear League. I just live in the neighborhood, and I was out there trying to gently get this bear to go back in the meadow where her and her cub belong. And then law enforcement came through, speeding through my neighborhood, and they do a great job. We have wonderful police officers in our city, so I'm not blaming them at all. They were on a call that they were told to go to. However, when they come through with these tactics, they terrified her, and it really just pushes her back into the Keys area, which is the problem. we need to stop punishing the bears. These are well-known national, like, policies that we use. Everybody knows that we can wire our homes. The people up here in their second homes are well aware of the possibility of a bear breaking in if they leave their windows and doors open, because that's what happens. They leave their windows and doors open and the bear comes in. I've been here for more than 20 years and I've never had a bear try to come into my home because I take those proper precautions. California Fish and Wildlife has a pattern here this summer, it seems, of just taking the lazy route. And we've already seen a mother bear killed, just not acceptable. We live in bear country. They have nowhere else to go. All of these so-called logging, thinning, forest health projects are destroying their food sources in the actual forest and pushing them further into these urban areas. They have nowhere else to go, and we have to stop punishing the bears. So I really urge you to take a look at every angle that you can to make sure that Fish and Wildlife is not coming in here and treating our bears like a problem, because they're not a problem. Humans are the problem. I have been on TikTok, which is a really new thing for me, but that's how important this kind of stuff is for me. I've been on there every day, and there are thousands of people across the United States that are pissed about what is happening to our bears right here in Tahoe. Not acceptable. We are not Nevada. Do better. And yeah, I also would like to say I would really like to get some mutual aid groups formed in Tahoe that we can get gardens going, food going to people. So everybody sees me on Knuckle Draggers TikTok or Facebook. So please reach out and let's actually do some good work in this town, because these agencies do not give a crap about us. And they're just busy trying to make money off our backs. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up, we have Caleb.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, council and city staff. My name is Caleb Fry. Thank you to you and your team for your work reinstating the VHR program. I know it's been a major undertaking, made no easier by the quick timeline and implications of the buffering policy. Progress seems to be improving, but the process has been much slower than expected, and only a small share of the preferred group have been able to secure permits so far. Many owners are still working through the process, navigating clerical issues and delays, some of which not the fault of the applicant. I respectfully ask the city to consider two things. One, postpone the public application date. This would give the city and preferred group more reasonable time to complete this initial phase before being inundated with new competing applications. It would also allow council to review the rollout in more detail and discuss buffering before further complicating this landscape with new applications. Two, address buffering. Currently, the application process requires significant effort and investment with no expectation of outcome because of buffering and how it's being managed. I don't think it needs to be this way. Removing buffering altogether would make this a much simpler, equitable process and program. It would deliver the intended permit count and give the intended priority to the preferred group, both being undermined by the complications of buffering. The preferred group was made a priority by council in this process for good reason. I hope adjustments will be made to ensure that priority is fulfilled. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Colleen.
Hi, my name is Colleen Bai, and I just want to support the measures asked of the city to adopt an ordinance requiring homeowners just to take basic preventative measures. Every time I hear about a bear breaking into the house, it feels like a window's left open, they're storing food in their garage, the vehicle's unlocked. We just need to be smart about it, because we're supposed to be the beings with the critical thinking skills. And I just really support changing the behavior of the people in the neighborhoods to really support the bear population. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. There's no additional public commenters, Mayor Pro Tem.
Great. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to our city commission reports. Any commissioners here in the audience that would like to give a report? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and move forward with our consent agenda. Any council members have any items that they want to pull? Okay, with that, we will go ahead and move into public comment. This is for anybody in our audience that would like to give public comment on our consent agenda.
And Mayor, I did just want to note for the record, I received an email from Councilmember Jenkins, and we will make a correction on the minutes under Councilmember Reports number 2. The name of the reference person should be Candace Williams, and we'll make that change before you execute that.
Great. Thank you, Mrs. Blankenship. Okay, seeing none, we will go ahead and move to Zoom.
There are no hands raised on Zoom, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, bringing it back to council and looking for a motion.
A second.
All right, we have a,
Motion to approve the consent, let's see, Madam City Clerk. A motion to, darn it, I mean. A motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
all right, and Mr. Robbins.
Second.
There we are. All right, we can vote.
These buttons are much smaller.
There you go. You got a mouse.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Mayor Pro Tem, your vote?
I clicked it. Oh,
See?
all right. It highlights it
That
first.
motion unanimously carries. Thank you.
Great. All right, and so with that, we will go ahead and move into regular unfinished business. This is going to be a presentation for the Lease to Local program, and this will be Miss Lydia Zuniga.
Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem Bass and City Council members. My name is Lydia Zuniga with Development Services Department. Before you this morning is an update on the Lease to Locals program and 4 separate options for City Council to consider regarding the future of the Lease to Locals program. During the last few years, the program has had a few extensions, including amendments to the guidelines. The staff report before you includes a timeline of when and how many applications were received. As of the date of this report, the available balance for PlaceMate to administer the program is $47,500, and the remaining balance for grants is $7,500. The report highlights how the budget is difficult to track in real time. Additionally, staff spends a substantial amount of time tracking, reviewing the grant applications for completeness, tracking the budget, preparing payment requests, and submitting the payment requests to the Finance Department. The program has unlocked 59 households and housed 144 residents, including children. As of today, we have closed 50 grants. In early spring of this year, the Development Services Department introduced the new Community Development Software. The housing divisions utilizing the new program to track the inspections as well as the rental assistance program. The new software has created improved efficiency and tracking abilities. Should the long-term rental incentive program be brought in-house, this software would aid the efficiency of the program. Included in your report are 4 options with pros and cons for City Council to consider. Option 1, end the professional services agreement with PlaceMate in 30 days. Bring program management in-house and change the name to Long-Term Rental Incentive Program. Option 2, allocate additional funding for incentive grants and continue with the PSA with PlaceMate. Option 3, allocate additional funding for incentive grants and bring the operations in-house. And Option 4, allow the professional services agreement term to run its course until January 31st to gradually close the second grants. Option 1, which is for staff to administer and manage the program in-house, is the most cost-effective option. As previously noted, there's already a substantial amount of staff time in processing the grants. Any option before you would support the strategic plan. Our representative from PlaceMate is attending the meeting via Zoom to answer any questions you may have. And this concludes my staff report. Thank you for your time, and staff is also happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Zuniga. So, council, any questions? Mr. Robbins?
Yes. I wanted to, so on the report page, on page 3 of the agenda packet, that's page 2 of 5 of the report, it lists grand total remaining balance 93,700 and change. Is that dollar amount current today, or is that an earlier amount?
Thank you for that question, Council Robbins. So that amount was based on the staff report from June 3rd. The current amount for grants is 7,500.
So we've got, sorry, that was current as of what month, you said?
That
June.
amount was as of current of June 3rd.
Top of June, so
Yeah,
we've had
the last
June,
quarterly report.
June, July, and half of August. We've allocated most of the $93,000 then at this point.
Just
Or-
keep in mind, the part of that amount includes the second grants that we have to close out.
The second half
Yes,
of the
the
grants.
second half
Okay,
of the
that makes
grants.
sense. Got it.
Correct.
So that's not all new grants. That's the close. That's the
Yes, it's-
the end of year second half
It's all
incentives. That makes
included.
sense. Okay. So I just want to walk through the numbers and make sure my understanding is correct. The total overhead costs for the program, that's the costs of operating the program, not including the actual grant amount. But the overhead cost is the placemate fee, which is $358,000, and a marketing fee, which is not included in the pay, so it's a separate fee of $32,000 for a grand total of $390,000 in operational overhead costs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's in the same time period since the initiation of the program. And that's not this year, that's initial to date, that's over the last 4 years. Just want to be clear about that, it's not this year. And over that same time period, the actual total amount of payout in grants was $300,000. Now, that doesn't include we said we had 93 minus 7, so that was $86,000 of additional closeout costs since the 93 went down to 7. Is that included in the 300 figure here for the Lease to Locals program? That's the actual grant amount, or is it more than $300,000 then that has been paid out? Is it $386,000?
So for the Lease to Locals program, the grant amount was $300,000.
That's the amount that we've allocated.
Correct.
Right, of which we
For the
have,
grants.
of which we have 7,000 remaining.
7,500, correct.
So we've actually spent $293,000 in grants.
Yes.
Let me correct that here. 293. So, but have we paid the 390 in total overhead payments to Placemate and for marketing? Is that the actual payout amount, or is that the budgeted amount?
That's the budgeted amount. So we have to keep in mind that we still have, if you look at your staff report, we still have $5,000 that we're going to be paying out for this year to close a few grants. And then we have an addition $33,750 that we're going to close out next year,
Okay, so
leaving a balance of $7,500.
so out of the 390,000 total allocated for Placemate and marketing, we have a remaining amount. Just want to see this here on the report. It says $47,500 odd remaining balance for professional services, including marketing.
That is correct.
That's what's remaining from the 390 over the 4 years that was
Correct.
allocated.
Yes.
Is that number current?
It is current.
Okay, so that number's current, but the 93 is not. Just want to make sure which is which. Okay.
The 47,513 is current. The 5,000 that we have to pay out, it's current. The 33,750 that's pending to pay out for the new grants. And the remaining balance of 7,500 is still current. Our total balance right now, it is 93,000. It includes Placemate, marketing, closeout of the grants, and the remaining balance.
So just
It is current.
So just doing the arithmetic.
Okay.
Then I want to make sure I got this right. We have, because you have we're listing in the staff report funds remaining and funds allocated. So I'm just trying to get how much, and some of the funds were funds remaining as of 2.5 months ago. So I'm just trying to get current funds remaining, current funds allocated. I want to know how much we've paid out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm just trying to make sure, because I can do the subtraction just fine, but I want to make sure I'm subtracting the right things.
Yeah, another way to think of it is
By which I mean I have a calculator to do the subtraction. I can't do it that fine.
yeah, what makes this program unique, and another way to think of it is for every grant, what we do is we pre-encumber the money. And so even though we haven't, because one grant is paid at the beginning and one grant, half is paid at the end. So we encumber it to safeguard, to ensure that we have enough. But there is an occasional scenario where a tenant moves out and the property owner doesn't collect the second grant, for example. So what we're saying is there is physically 93,000 left. However, all but 7,500 is encumbered, basically.
All right. So what I'm driving at, though, is that I just want to make sure my numbers are right, because we so far have paid substantially more in overhead than we have in grants. And I'm trying to get the amount more. That's why I'm walking through all this very boring sounding arithmetic and numbers. So I'm reading that we have paid $342,000 in overhead operations and $293,000 in actual grants. Right, so we are operating at an overhead ratio of 116%. Right, so literally more than 100% in overhead, which, well, I'll bring this back when I bring back to discussion. But I wanted to make sure my interpretation of the numbers is actually correct. Is that interpretation consistent with your understanding of the numbers? Yes.
Correct.
Okay. And lastly, you said, I know you said it again, you said we have the total number of households is 59 that have been quote unquote unlocked. I do want to point out that, like, even with a total cost of plus 293 of $635,000, that's still less than the cost of building a new unit, even at 116% overhead cost. That doesn't mean the 116 overhead is good. I'm just saying it's still less than the cost of new construction, of building new houses. I just want to make sure I understand that correctly. It's significantly more cost efficient than building has been, but we are running at 116% overhead cost expense. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins. Mr. Jenkins.
Mrs. Zuniga, thank you for your report. I think it's a great idea that we're bringing this program in-house for the reasons that Councilmember Robbins mentions. We already have existing people who are qualified, skilled as yourself and your staff, and that we can, what I understand, manage it. That the funds that we're being asked to allocate or reallocate, they're not in addition, there's not more funds. These are existing funds will be reallocated to be used for internal administration and for grants that will be issued through the city's structure.
Correct.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Jenkins. All right, I think with no more questions, we'll go ahead and open it up to public comment.
I'll come back for another question if there's no one else. I wanted to make sure I let everyone else go before I came back for another round of questions. Okay. Just real quick, I just want to clarify, my understanding of the contract with Placemate is that they are paid a monthly retainer amount. I think it's $7,000. Is that correct? A month? 75 or 7,500?
7,500.
Thank you. That's a big difference. So $7,500 a month. Is in their contract, is there any incentive structure per number of units rented, or is the amount that they're paid for operating their service a flat amount no matter how many units get rented?
Flat fee.
So there's no financial incentive structure in place to increase based on the number of rentals or based on the outcome of the program. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Seeing no more questions, we will go ahead and take this to public comment for anybody in the room that would like to give comment on item number 14. Mr. Mosier.
Ed Moser, South Lake Tahoe. Yeah, this is good that you're finally getting around after all this time to deal with this. Yeah, this program, I think, kind of from the beginning, sounded good, looked good on paper, but the reality here, of housing and rather situations that we have here is quite different than anywhere else. Looking at the numbers here, so since the program started 4 years ago, it has unlocked 59 households, 144 residents, blah, 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 blah. As today, 50 grants have been closed and completed. This is, I'm assuming that each grant, a grant and the number of grants is for one household and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. I'm assuming that because it doesn't state otherwise. So that's, an average of not even 3 people per grant. So I don't know if this is really helping families that much that really need, low income or moderate income families, if it's really providing the service for them and really helping them out much. And it says, as previously reported, the program has demonstrated a tendency to slow during the holidays and summer months. Well, that's when you need housing the most. We need people here to help. So yeah, people don't want to rent their houses out because they want to use them during the summer or, or come up and during the holidays. That makes sense. And like I said, that's part of the problem here. It's kind of self-defeating. So when you need it the most, it's not available and not really working or functioning. Part of the problem here is since legalizing VHRs in 2003, without ever being able or willing to enforce them. You keep talking about it, and keep throwing money or collecting money, not throwing the money out to enforce. Keep collecting the money, and then that goes into the ether. That ruined the housing market here, and I've stood up here since 2003 and showed you how and why. Tammy Wallace and Dwayne Wallace, ever since then, that time, kept talking about the rising tide raises all ships. Well, the truth is the ship sailed in 2003 by legalizing VHRs. It ruined the housing market here because it went uncontrolled and just skyrocketed. So it made it impossible for people that live and work here to buy or even to rent now. Part of the problem now, even with VHRs, as you're looking at this to find suitable places to rent, which is why I think you just do away with this program, is that, people are renting. You have in your new regulations, VHR regulations, that you can have 2 places on one lot, on one property, and still rent. And you need to do away with that. You need to do it multifamily and multiple houses on a property.
Thank you, Mr. Mosier. And anybody else in the room that would like to give public comment on item 14? Yes, Mr. Gregorich.
Good morning, David Gregorich, South Lake Tahoe. I would think this could be a program, an arrow in your quiver for addressing housing. We're facing a lot of complication in our housing market. Some of it is local, regional, state, or nationwide effects. And anything we're doing is kind of addressing things incrementally, and government, is subsidizing programs to kind of alter the market. I know there's been comments made as why isn't this program more impactful, and how cost effective is it? But you are altering the market. You are providing a government subsidy to it. I think the intent of this program is you've got some property owners, introduce them to the idea of renting to long-term renters. It's difficult being a landlord. Hopefully, you get a bunch of these landlords, get a good tenant, and say, I'm going to stick with it. I think that's the intent. Oh, and there was one more thing I was going to say. As devil's advocate, I'll say it. I suspect there is some value in having a third party initiating some of these contacts in the program, the placemate, to have it be not governmental. I don't have firsthand experience. I'd be interested in the discussion of that aspect. What do you gain by having that third party, or is there something that we lose by bringing it in-house? So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregorich. Anybody else in the room on item 14? All right, seeing none, we'll move to Zoom.
We'll open up our Zoom platform for public comment. No hands raised at this time, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, with that, we'll go ahead and bring it back to council for open discussion. Mr. Robbins.
Oh, yeah.
Use your little speaker button.
There we go. Mr. Thomas, what is your opinion on the city's capacity to in-house the lease to locals, in-house the operation of the lease to locals program?
Yeah, as mentioned in the staff report, we basically currently operate a similar type of program structurally with the rental assistance program. We do income verification, grant payments, tracking like that, pretty much very similar to this. Also with our new permitting tracking software, there's some increased ability to build it within that system and provide efficiency there. So there would be staff capacity.
What do you think the functional or the effective cost of in-housing the program would be in terms of, full-time equivalent staff cost? Like how many internal dollars, as it were, would it cost to operate the program in your estimation?
I mean, it wouldn't increase the cost per the city per se. It's already fixed employee cost. There wouldn't be additional staffing necessary. It would basically just be folded into existing operations. So, it might take a certain percentage of cross-section of staff, multiple staff members' time. But like I said, with, any kind of, when you stack on multiple programs, there is some efficiency of scale, that you generally see. So I wouldn't imagine any real substantial increased staff, city costs, because it would just be folded into the basic operations that occur with other programs.
Would we be able to have, for lack of a better description, a nice website, a landing page for the program that prospective or interested parties could sign up for, people who want to be tenants could sign up for, people, to respond, so that it's a nice, friendly, web interface for that, something which we don't currently have. That's something that Placemate currently kind of provides. Is that something we could insource as well?
Yeah, I believe we can build, a basic interface with that. I mean, for example, with our new VHR program, kind of that was built in-house in terms of the application process, tracking, things like that. I would envision some version of being able to do something like that, similar.
So that would be...
Just reiterate, if I may, Councilmember Robbins, just to make sure we're clear, there will not be a new website. It could be a dedicated landing page on the city's website.
That's what I mean.
Okay. Thank you.
A page within, cityofslt.us/lease to whatever, But I mean like a page you go to for this, not necessarily a domain or whatever.
Exactly. So similar to our other housing programs, there's links and things like that. It's on the current website. We'd probably alter that accordingly.
Does the city have access to data to identify people who would be prospective landlords? In other words, access lists of people who own houses but don't have Tahoe as their primary residence that we could then send mailers or reach out to and contact and do marketing and have that kind of information where we could do that kind of direct marketing of the program?
We have a whole list of second homeowners.
Microphone, please.
Well, no, I was just.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Thomas?
There would be ways to enhance that marketing. The city we don't maintain that list right now as we don't have a program to use that, but
we have access to the data where we could collate that information from housing ownership records, and then voter registration, or if the mailing address for the parcel is different than the parcel itself. You could identify likely units that might be interested in this program and reach out to them through various direct mail or whatever marketing approaches. And that's something, so in other words, we could handle the marketing aspect in-house as well. I guess that's the important point. Because we could have the best landing page and capacity to handle it in the world, but we need to find, we need to find people who would be interested and who might not have heard of this or might not have considered it or had previously dismissed it but didn't know that we increased we've recently increased the grant amounts quite substantially and so on. And there's a renewal grants and so on. But we can handle that kind of marketing in-house.
Yes.
And then lastly, it would seem pretty likely that our incentives to operate the program effective, to actually get people are well aligned with the money that we're allocating, where there's not a disconnect in payments versus incentives. So.
All right, thank you, Mr. Robbins. Mr. Jenkins.
I think I've laid out you can
we'll
infer my
for a
viewpoint on
motion.
this.
My apology for not previously turning on my microphone. My wife would like the cut switch sometimes when we're at home. First, I think it's a good program. We've already seen what the cost is to offload management, and the advantage I think that staff's bringing to this is now we're going to be doing it internally with existing staff. So in one sense, we'll have more money for actual programming for leasing in one sense. And I like Councilmember Robbins' comments about having our own page or an outreach to second homeowners. If you go to some of the associations that they have lists of, some of us have those lists too, of who the owners are of second homes. I'm sure the city has that list. There's very few times that I'm aware of, and this goes way back years, that we've ever outreached to second homeowners and said, thank you for contributing to our community. Here's some things that you could help us with. Here are the things that you would like us. I think that is a good thing to bring them all into the fold of things that we're doing. I'm ready to make a motion when the council is ready, or if somebody wants to, I'll second.
Well, we've got Mr. Roberts actually up, so let me move to Mr. Roberts first, and then, go ahead.
Councilman Robbins actually asked all the questions I was going to ask. Great job, great questions, as well as Councilman Jenkins. So my opinion on it is it's a great program. It is the only one that is addressing housing for middle-income residents. It does appear to be very ineffective or underperforming, if you will. Even when they came back to us earlier in the year and we suggested changes and we accepted those changes, it doesn't seem like that's made much of a difference. There is that lack of accountability, seems to be with placemat. If we brought it in-house, I think there would at least be an implied accountability, and that might be the opportunity for us to do those email blasts and so on and so on. So. And since the staff brought it forward as an option, I would assume they've thought through pretty well that they're capable of handling it in-house.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilmember Robbins. For me, I agree with all of these points. I do think that bringing it in-house, we can get more advantages. I also like that we can also take and adapt new ideas to it. One thing that I've heard from actual real estate managers and property managers is that if there was some type of assistance from the city, and I'm thinking if we're managing and going through these kind of grant applications, that we could put somewhat teeth in that help in the situation of a private property owner needing to evict a long-term tenant, and being able to write that in somewhat of the paperwork that they're doing, that really gives more assurance for somebody that they want to move into a long-term, rental situation if they have some type of assistance, because there's the nightmare scenario that I can never get the tenant out of a place due to different, California rights and rental rights. And so if we could give those type of assurances, and I know that's for another conversation, we got to look into that, but it allows us being in-house to make those kind of fluid changes to where a contract doesn't. And I think we can get creative. I think that bringing in those real estate managers and property managers to have those discussions, hey, what can we do on the flip side, not just trying to help the renter, but how do we get the private property owners to open up inventory in a long-term place? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And
I just want to note that I do think that the effort and work done with Placemate was time and money well spent so far. This was a pilot program initially, right? It at the beginning of this program, it didn't make sense. It would not have made sense, even in retrospect, for the city to invest capital effort to stand up this program new from scratch when we didn't have the experience with it. We didn't know if it was going to work or not. To outsource that and to contract that out initially as a pilot program, I think was the right choice at the time. So I don't think this is a case where this was a bad decision 4 years ago. That was the right case when we didn't know what the value of this was going to be. For all we could have known at the time, this would have never worked. It would not have incentivized anybody, and it would have been easier just to terminate the contract and move on to other ideas. But this was a pilot program that has succeeded, and so I think the time has come for it to not be a pilot anymore and to just be a program. That's in a certain sense, that's a consequence of success, and that's one of the things you do when you mature a pilot, an experiment into something that is actually working. So I think this is moving this in-house is not really a statement of the failure of any previous choices. It's a consequence of the success, not the other way around. And the cost efficiency versus building has been quite substantial. And if we can get more people housed and more housing units housed by bringing it in source, by further maturing the program from a pilot to a fully functioning aspect of what the city's doing as a city program, I think that would make the most amount of sense. And we'll save a lot of money. Every money is fungible. Dollars are fungible. So every dollar we save on administration and overhead is more dollars we can put in grants. That being said, I do think we are going to need to come back at some point pretty soon then to allocate more funds to the grants, because again, it's been successful. We allocated $0 new in the last 2 years as we've been burning down the original, it was the ARPA funds, right? And so with this coming in-house, having been successful, I think it's now time to fund it as part of our regular programs that is part of our regular projects. So
Well, I agree,
I don't know if that's part of this, how much dollars and from where.
Well, that'll be part of our budget.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. My question, I guess, is if we move forward with the insourcing, when does it come back to discuss how much we allocate for grant? And is that something that comes up at the budget review? So I just wanted to get that on the record.
I'll take a first attempt at that, and Finance Director, correct me on anything I get wrong, but my understanding is if the council action is to take it in-house, then the remaining funds for incentives tied to enticing second homeowners to use this would be approximately $47,000 available. We can have this conversation with the budget. We could also have Zach and his team give us a report after those, when those funds dwindle, and we can have a conversation at a separate meeting after the budget. Anything I get wrong there, Olga? Okay.
What's the difference between suggested motion 1 and suggested motion 3? They seem pretty similar. So 3 is allocate additional funding for incentive grants and bring the operation in-house. But is that different than terminate the professional services agreement and then bring the program management in-house and change the name? Other than the name change, I guess.
Yeah.
But what's meaningfully the difference there?
I think they're slightly different, but I think you theoretically, based on the motions listed here, could mix and match if you felt that was the desired motion.
Both allocate the funds, just add allocate to item 1.
Yeah, so, so in item 3, we're talking about allocating additional funding from where would we be allocating that funding from? what's the option for that? Is that an option in the report for like where we could get?
We would have to come back with that.
Okay.
That's, if council wants us to direct more monies, my recommendation would be we don't need to do that right now.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to get at, because it sounded like allocate funding, and I'm like, I'm looking for from what budget item, but that's not in the report. All right, so very good. So does anybody else have? Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was stoked to make a motion.
Jenkins, go right ahead.
I'll be happy to, yeah. I know, turn on the mic. Again, I think the comments are excellent that have been made by the council. I think by staff's given an excellent report and clarification. I do want to state something that you've heard before, that we should not be the only party who's contributing to this program to host to locals. I think we need major employers. We need Barton Hospital. We need the school district. We need Vail. We need other people to put funds like other areas, including Truckee, including Santa Clara County, that have done where they put pools of money, brought pools of money together in order to provide housing for the workforce that they're employing. They need to step up and do their part and not expect the taxpayers, the city, to do the whole job. And I'm not saying that they're not doing some things. I'm just saying that they need to step up also, because as we come to the budget discussions, we're going to have, there's a lot of, I'm sure, issues to competing interests, competing needs that we're going to have to shovel. So the more resources we have that we can bring to bear, the more successful we can make this program. That's my only point.
David, I just want to follow up on your question, because I suspect the school district specifically is borderline broke and probably not going to be able to shovel up to, but the other ones, Barton and Vail and so on, there's pockets there.
It's how you manage your resources in all agencies. I'm not an expert on school issues, but it's how you manage are you putting it in the top or in the bottom, and where are you putting your resources?
Who do you propose to reach out to them? Is that something you want to do before the next budget meeting?
I'm happy to work with staff or the council I didn't say that. In whatever manner would be useful. But they need to step up and be responsible. They want things from us. We want things for our community. Their resources, maybe there's other ways that they can help us. But we're going to be facing some real challenges, I think, with our budget without having complete insights with the federal cuts. The state's broke because it's a mismanaged organization. We're going to have and we have a lot of competing interests. So I just like to see them parlay up to the table, whether it's a council committee of some of you that meets with some of their board people and our manager. That's fine with me, whatever approach, but they need to step up and do their part and not lay it all, like other progressive even agencies have done, like in Santa Clara County and up in the Truckee region.
Great.
Would you be open to including in the motion a request for staff to reach out to local large business and regional partner government agencies to request engage interest in joining contributions to the Lease to Locals program?
Before we go to a motion, Councilmember Roberts.
No, I wasn't going to make a motion. I was suggesting a path forward for including what you're talking about. Sorry.
No worries.
I guess it might be a question for the city manager. If we bring this back in-house, or maybe Zach would answer this, will it automatically segue, or we add in the rooted renter program, or will that be something we need to address and bring forward at a future point, or how would that look?
Oh, I'm hitting the wrong one.
We would have to come back to council at a later date to discuss if we want to evolve into the rooted renter program. The rooted renter program. Yes.
Yeah, I can elaborate the rooted renter program, which was referenced in the strategic plan.
It gets worse every time I hear it.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
It's a tongue twister.
It keeps sounding like Roto-Rooter, and it's just like I'm sorry. I get it, but it's every time I hear it, it gets worse.
I like that. So that would involve two changes. One, it would involve additional allocation of funds. The second one would involve amendment to the and/or creation to guidelines associated with it. What that program basically is an ongoing payment to, so as this current program is a one-time incentive payment, the rooted renter concept is a ongoing payment concept for ongoing rentals.
I do think we should have that item come back because it piggybacks on the same exact infrastructure we're already going to have. So it's an under the hood change. So it's a relatively easy thing in terms of the doing of it. It's just a question of budgeting for it.
If I may, that the rooted renter program is listed in the city's adopted strategic plan as a 26-27 item. So, let's, if the council wants this action, we can work to move it in-house, build a website. I don't know if we need a motion to have me, Zach, call Vail, LTUSD, and Barton. We could start there to share and promote. I understand what you're trying to do, and I think it's a good offering. We should tell them, we have this program. Do you want to invest in it? We manage the program, and some of your employees could benefit from the housing that was opened up through this. We can totally do that. I think we need to come out of the gate strong, market it, have a good website. I even like the idea of sharing it with second homeowners. I think that's a good mailing list item we should look at doing. So I have clear direction if that's what the council wants to do.
I'm keen to include it in the motion just as a matter of record keeping, but when I do that, I want to make sure I structure that to make sure it's structured right.
You want to go
But
ahead and put the
I will
motion?
only suggest when we come back to the budget with the rooted renter, let's have a different name, please.
You can put it in your motion.
I don't need to
We
get
do
into
not
that
want,
detail.
we do not
Well,
want
let's
an
make it a
uprooted
market.
road renter.
Make it a market.
We don't
Let's
want an
just-
uprooted.
A different name for that. Figure something else clever out, please.
So you ready for the
Yeah,
motion?
I'm ready to make a motion.
All right.
I move to terminate the professional services agreement with Placemate in 30 days, bring the program management in-house, and change the program name to Long-Term Rental Incentive Program, and also to direct staff to reach out to regional government partners and regional large businesses to gauge interest in and request participation in funding of the long-term rental incentive program.
All right, we have a motion.
I second it.
All right, I'm in a second, and we also have a question from
Did I structure that well
Councilmember
enough for you?
Jenkins.
No question, just a question on the motion to request. I think we want to ask them to participate.
Yeah.
We're not going to go on our knees to them. They need to step up and do their jobs like we're doing our jobs. So, however,
Thank you for the comment.
that's just a clarification.
Absolutely. All right, we got a motion and a second. We can vote.
That was easy.
Right.
That motion unanimously carries.
All right, so we are moving into regular new business. We only have 3 items left today, so I think that at 10:30, let's take a small 10-minute break and come back at 10:40.
Nice work, Lydia. Thank you.
Yeah, just something other than rooted renter.
Cloudy McCloud program.
It just sounds like we do need a different name for that when this item comes back. Just think of something else.
Ms. Moore, are we ready to go?
Yeah, we're ready to get going when you are, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. We will go ahead and call this meeting back to order. We are at regular new business. This is item number 15, citizens' appointment to the Building and Housing Board of Appeals, and this will be Ms. Michelle Davis.
Hello, good morning, Council. For the record, my name is Michelle Davis, and I am the Assistant City Clerk. The item before you is an appointment to the Building and Housing Board of Appeals. We currently have one vacancy on this board, and we have received one application to fill this vacancy from Dan May. His application is available for review in your agenda packets. City Council will have the option to either approve Dan's application and appoint him onto the board, or to direct the City Clerk's office to continue to solicit for applications onto this board. That concludes my staff report. I'm available for any questions, and I believe we also have Dan May in attendance over Zoom as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any council members have any questions? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and open up public comment on this item. Anybody in the room that would like to give public comment on item 15? Seeing none, we'll move to Zoom.
We'll open up the Zoom platform for anyone who wants to provide public comment. Mr. May, you're on with council. Go ahead.
Dan May for the record. I just wanted to say I'm looking forward to the opportunity to work on this board. I just was looking for a way to contribute some more of my time and efforts to helping make the city run well, and this looked like a good opportunity. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, excuse me. All right. So with that, we will bring it back to council for a motion or any more discussion.
I can make it.
Oh, I think.
I'm happy to make a motion unless there's someone who wants to have discussion or questions, just to move on.
Yeah, so let's go.
Okay. We don't have an hour of questions on this
What
one?
he did though is, you'll see, because he can press motion, and Jenkins had done it, so it's fine. Not a big deal, but to keep me on.
No hours of questions, okay.
Please.
I move that we pass a motion appointing the applicant to the Building and Housing Board of Appeals.
I second that.
Yes.
Very nice. We have a motion and a second, and we can vote.
That motion unanimously carries. Thank you.
Great. All right, we are moving on to item 16. This is an ordinance amending South Lake Tahoe City Code to lower speed limit on sections of Sierra Boulevard. And this is going to be Mr. Anush Najad.
Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem Bass and members of the City Council. For the record, my name is Anush Najad, the Director of Public Works and also the City Traffic Engineer. The item before you is a recommendation to set a new speed limit on Sierra Boulevard from Lake Tahoe Boulevard US 50 to Barbara Avenue. On December 10th, 2024, the City Council approved city speed limit changes on sections of Pioneer, Ski Run Boulevard, and Lake Tahoe Boulevard. The council also requested that a new engineering and traffic study to be conducted for the Sierra Boulevard as well. Speed limits establish a reasonable and safe operating speed on roadways in accordance with California Vehicle Code requirements. Specific procedures are also included in the California Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. The city retained the services of JLB Traffic Engineering to collect traffic information, conduct speed surveys, and review collision records in accordance with the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. The current speed limit on Sierra Boulevard is 35 miles per hour. The resulting survey showed the 85th percentile speed at 36 miles per hour. However, due to bicycle and pedestrian activity in the corridor and the fact that it connects to Dennis Machado Trail and to the college, the MUTC Method 1 allows a further reduction of 5 miles per hour for the recommended posted speed limit. Establishing the new speed limit has two advantages. One, it will allow the police department to enforce the new speed limits as the last survey was conducted over 10 years ago. The speed limit will be enforceable for the next 10 years if the council approves this and will be sufficient for court cases. The new speed limit also adheres to the Vision Zero goals that the City Council adopted in December of 2024. Since speeding is one of the major causes of crashes and fatalities, this change will support the program goals. Therefore, staff recommends changing the speed limit on Sierra Boulevard from Lake Tahoe Boulevard US 50 to Barbara Avenue to 30 miles per hour. If approved by the council today, this item will be brought back for a second reading on September 9th, and the new speed limit will be effective 30 days from that date. City staff will change the speed limit signs on or about October 9th, 2025, and the new limits will then be enforceable. That concludes my presentation. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much, Mr. Najad. Questions from council? Yes, Mr. Robbins.
So the Sierra Boulevard was, a few years ago, was recently restructured. It's an exceedingly wide street for being only 2 lanes. It's got almost 3 travel lanes worth of width. It does have curb separated bike trail next to it, which is good. But it's also a completely straight trail with no curb bulb outs. All that is correct, right?
There are some, yes.
Curb bulb outs?
Yes.
Okay, but it's, I mean, part of the problem is that, like, it's such a wide straight road that it incentivizes cars to travel fast in the first place. Its physical structure is such that it is not designed in a way to lower speeds, right? So what are, I didn't think it had bulb outs though. Where are they?
They're at the intersections when we have pedestrian crossings.
Okay. What are some other physical, structural aspects that we can on a road that's that straight to incentivize traffic to be slow? Because in the report, it says that the wrong one. That the average speed was, I think, 36, right?
Yes.
And
85 percentile.
And so it's, the posted speed limit is 35. We want to lower it to 30.
Yes.
But the structure of the road is not incentivizing, is not leading drivers to drive more slowly in the first place. So we're setting a speed limit 5 miles below the current 85th percentile. What are some of the things we could do to that street and others like it in the future? And, you know, we have a whole project going on Pioneer that's not wrapping up this year, you know, where this is part of the same problem, where we have these streets that we've inherited from the age of car brain, which we're still kind of in, where we have built roads that incentivize high speeds, you know, and pedestrian unsafety. You know, we call them stroads. Yeah, but this is a side street in the first place, and in an evacuation, last time we had evacuation, it's bumper to bumper anyway. So what's the difference? The traffic's not moving. You know, I got this from in fairness, I got this from a constituent who didn't want us to lower speed limits on Highway 50 because the traffic's already so bad. The problem is when the traffic's bad, it's already going slow, not because of the speed limit, because there's too many cars. So what can we do with what other things can we do? Can we, the city specifically, do with streets like Sierra that have high speeds, largely because of their design?
Yes, this is really 2 different questions. First of all, speed survey is based on current roadway configuration. We have to do the survey to establish the speed limit and be able to enforce it. In terms of speed management and changing the operating speed, one of the best ways is to reduce the lane widths. That creates some friction, and it will definitely change, you know, the operating speed. by maybe between 2 to 4 miles per hour. Although I don't think that will be necessary, I think that by changing the speed limit, I hope that the public will be driving at the recommended speed limit, which will be 30 miles per hour. And hopefully that will reduce some of the speeding in that corridor. Again, this will give a tool to the police department to enforce it. We don't have that tool right now. And hopefully, once these are approved and posted, you will see some impact, although not much, depending on the level of enforcement. So 2 different things. I think that if you recall, the City Council approved to develop a citywide traffic calming program. And as a part of that effort, I think different methodologies, standards, and actions that can be taken, which are good engineering practices, because this is not the only roadway in the city that will receive complaint about speeding. I think some of the measures may not be applicable to South Lake Tahoe, for example, speed humps. But there are other ideas, and I think those needs to be vetted with the public, and then appropriate measures then can be implemented in the future.
Without loss of generality, I do agree that you need to have a speed limit that's lower in order to ever enforce a speed limit that we want to be lower. That's certainly true. The challenge is, as we've observed throughout the city, we have a finite amount of police resources. The ability to control infractions by way of enforcement at every point is extremely limited, right? Yeah, we'll have a day or two here where there's, and on, when I was driving past up Keys Boulevard, there was a cop not too many days ago that was checking for people running the stop sign on Keys Boulevard. But there's a limit to how much that can realistically be done. We can pass a law that says don't speed and don't drive Lime scooters recklessly, but at the end of the day, if the only mechanism to have people do that is enforcement through police action, that's going to not be terribly successful. The stronger solution is to build the infrastructure in a way that guides people to slow down or to operate safely in the first place. And so, so like you're saying things like lane narrowing, but what about just trees, or what about vegetation that sort of reduces sight lines so that people are forced to slow down a bit, things like that? That may be more planters, that kind of thing, that may be more cost effective.
Yes, as long as it is safe. Remember, there are 3 E's: engineering, education, and enforcement. So you need to have all of those elements in order to be able to have a better roadway network.
What about the signs that have your speed and they flash your speed and they show the speed limit and they have your speed and they flash? Those tend, at least I know when I see them, I tend to pay attention then if I'm speeding. Is there an understanding of what the real, but that's just me, and I've been told I drive like an old man, which is consistent with my being an old man. But is there an understanding of how effective devices like those actually are?
Yes, it's about 5 miles per hour in terms of reducing the speeds, operating speeds. And we have installed those at some locations right now. And we're planning to install those on US 50 and 89 as the traffic enters into the city. So there will be a sign advising them that they're entering into the urban area, they need to reduce speed, and also then there will be a speed feedback sign. Yes, they're effective by about 5 miles per hour.
Well, coincidentally, it looks like we're trying to lower the speeds by about 5 miles per hour. Is there a potential to put up a sign like that on streets such as Sierra Boulevard? Other ones that come to mind are things like Ski Run, which is quadruple wide. It's an extremely wide boulevard, but I don't know if there's much, how much the speeding problem there is a problem.
Yes, it's opportunity to add those signs. And again, I hope with this traffic calming program, that will be one of the elements that will be recommended. I would recommend it myself. But you have to put it at specific locations when there are problems. If you put it at every location, then people will ignore it. So whenever we have a problem, whenever we have a speeding, I think that will be a very good measure to be able to reduce some of the operating speeds.
Okay, once we lower the speed limit, I'm assuming that's how we're gonna go. I guess I shouldn't predict the future, but if we lower the speed limit, is there a follow-up for these on how well it's worked out?
Yes, again, with that traffic calming program, the intent of that program is to look at the citywide traffic calming measures. It's one of the most common requests I receive, and I think that hopefully that report will develop a standard procedures and locations for these speed feedback signs. Again, they're effective to a degree. And so your comments are, very good, and I think it's a part of the process that we need to go through.
All right, thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Any other questions from council? Yes, Mr. Jenkins.
Mr. Najad, since we co-locate, as does Caltrans, bicycle lanes and roads, and there appears either on large roads, it appears to me as a resident, on large roads or narrow roads, we have some people who are anxious to get to where they're going and go excessively fast. So I'm not so sure, but I worry about the safety of people who are in bikes or motorbikes or people who not paying attention on the bike, particularly on bicycles or motorized vehicles. But in order to enforce did I hear you correctly? In order for the police department to enforce the the city can set the speed limit ever it wants, but in order to use radar, it has to be in the 85th percentile, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, well, again,
unless there's exceptions to findings, yeah.
Yes, as long as we are in compliance with the engineering and traffic study requirements, which has been done with this study, we can set the speed limit below the 85 percentile. So that was a traditional way to do the speed limits. There are many provisions like AB 43 that gives you the provision to be able to lower the speed limits. 5 miles per hour lower than the 85 percentile. That's what we have used here. And so, again, it's a good way to be able to, get people to, lower their speeds, and will give the police department the ability to enforce it with a radar.
Just one other thing. I remember very well on the 58th Street in Sacramento, near the 58th Street Armory, you mentioned undulation devices, speed bumps, I think they call them. Believe me, they're effective. But they're a rather rough road approach to speed man. But we have to. Your point was, I think, we have to make sure that the parties are safe, that the people on the bicycles and the pedestrians, everyone is safe. And what you're doing, is proposing, is to reduce speed so that people can be safer in whatever mode of transportation they are there. Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jenkins. If there are no more questions, we'll go ahead and go to public comment. Thank you, Mr. Najad. Anybody in the room that would like to give public comment on item number 16? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and go to Zoom.
Yeah, I see one hand raised. Ms. Soderston.
Yes, thank you. Melissa Soderston, South Lake Tahoe. I strongly encourage you to adopt this ordinance. As we have shown time and time again, our roads are very unsafe. We are watching our wildlife just be annihilated on a daily basis. We lose many bears, but it's not just the bears, it's the squirrels, it's, all these animals are just getting destroyed. And I have not owned a car for more than a decade now, and it is absolutely terrifying to be on our streets. And I would ask you that I know that a lot of you guys are doing a great job, really working hard, especially with Caltrans, but to go to the federal and state level, and please talk to our federal and state representatives. Make sure that you're legislating for things at those levels as well, because we are tied to all of these ordinances. And we know that whatever the speed limit is, people are going to drive likely 5 miles per hour over that speed limit. So any place that we can lower it is just really helpful. There's also a lot of wonderful studies that show that lowering the speed limit actually improves the flow of traffic, especially when you are in these tight little urban areas. We have a lot of businesses along these roads that just simply get passed by because when you're in traffic, traveling at 35 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour, you don't have time to stop and turn. So you might see the business, but then by the time you think about turning around to go back, you're missing it. So it's really important to just implement. All of our roads need it. Go to the state level, especially Mr. Jenkins. I would like to point out that you seem very ill-informed on what is going on nationally and at the state level. I would like to make it clear to you that the Department of Education has been eliminated. Free food in schools is being eliminated. So you seem to have some problem with the education department, but they are struggling already. So please take it somewhere else and really educate yourself on what's going on nationally, because there is so much more that we need to be doing, especially with these roadways. Traffic is not decreased by speed decreases. Thanks.
Thank you. No additional hands raised at this time, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, if we have no more public comment, we're going to go ahead and bring it back to council. Looking for a motion or any more discussion.
I'll make a motion.
Go for it.
I move to pass, it's a weird thing, I move to pass a motion. I move to hold a first reading by title only of an ordinance amending South Lake Tahoe City Code, Chapter 4.25, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Operation of Vehicles, Section 4.25.160 and 4.25.170 to modify the speed restrictions on Sierra Boulevard and refer to second reading and adoption. All right, well, I got to go sit down in the audience now. Damn it. Okay. And adoption to the meeting on September 9th, 2025. Sorry, am I allowed to continue? I have permission.
Second. Mr. Jenkins, all right. We have a motion and a second. We can vote.
It's not letting me point. Oh, you can touch it.
Yeah, touch it.
I get that all the time.
That motion unanimously carries. Thank you.
All right.
Mayor and council, just really quick, if I may, since that's coming back on the September 9th for a second reading, in the meantime, I'll work with Communications Division and Public Works on timing for when these signs, assuming a second reading will pass, and then we'll make sure there's appropriate press release information out there and notification to the neighborhood and the community so they're aware of this speed change.
Great,
Mr.
thank
Mayor, why is it coming back on,
Second reading.
Yeah, but
ordinance.
usually that's consent, so why is it not coming back on the next agenda?
Next agenda is a budget hearing.
Oh, we're not having there isn't a consent for the next one? Okay, sorry, got it.
All right, so moving on, this is the final item of the day. This is item 17, a delegation of the city engineer and city traffic engineer and agreement with LaFront, so I believe I said that right, engineering for on-call engineering and traffic engineering service. And actually, before we move on to this item, I'd like to take this time. This will be Mr. Najad's last meeting with us, and I think both of these items truly exemplify the service that you've given to our city over the past 4 years. It truly has been an honor to have you here, and what you've done in our, Public Works Department has really transformed. Since my 27 years of being here, I've never seen our Public Works Department operate in such a professional way. You changed things like our zones of snow removal, so many things, traffic engineering, and things that we had never even seen in our history of the city. So again, I cannot thank you enough for the time that you've given this community and all that you've done.
I'd also like to add that I object to Mr. Najad's leaving. And I want to know whoever gave him permission to go should be punished immediately. That is not convenient to us.
And I, as well, with Mr. Jenkins, we decided we're going to put up a bunch of potholes and exiting town to make sure that you can't leave.
I want to echo what has been said about Mr. Najad. In my experience, which is longer than I want to admit, in the public works field. I rank him up at really right at the top of experience in not only doing professional service, but growing a staff, mentoring a staff, and also something that sometimes we inadvertently lack. It's being responsive to public concerns, meeting with public members when they have problems. And I wish him well, but I know that we're going to miss his service to our community.
If I could make a statement, first of all, thank you very much. It really has been my pleasure to serve the City Council and also to the residents of South Lake Tahoe. I really appreciate all of the support that the council gave to the Public Works Department. We made a lot of investment in equipment and infrastructure. That was very important for me, and I really appreciate that, and I hope that you will continue to support the Public Works Department. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Najad. All right, so with that, this is going to be Mr. Ricky Riddle.
Mayor, I'll kick it off first. Great comments all around. I echo the council's comments. Having a professional director as Mr. Najad's been wonderful. You've been a great resource, a good partner. I'm going to miss you, and I do wish you nothing but the best of luck. Mr. Najad's last day is this Friday. Effective Saturday, our airport manager, John Dickinson, will serve as the interim planning director. We have had a recruitment out for the Public Works Director for the last 4 weeks. Interviews are scheduled in a couple weeks. And between the August 15th and whenever a new director is on board, we are in need of having city engineering and traffic engineering services. As we just talked about, Mr. Najad's been providing those to us. Mr. Riddle has taken the leadership role as our community facilities, our capital facilities and project manager to work with the well-talented public works engineering staff to design an RFP. He floated it. We had a review process, and we are here to give a recommendation to help provide the services that we need in the absence of Mr. Najad before a new public works director is on board. I will state one of the qualifications for the new public works director. It's strongly preferred that they serve as the city engineer and traffic engineer. I think it's highly unlikely we'll find someone that has both. When I arrived to town in 2020, we had a city engineer. We did not have a traffic engineer. We had a contract, similar to what's presented to council here. So we'll evaluate and cross that bridge after we get through the review process, but we're casting the net far and wide and trying to get great talent. But with that, I'll turn it over to Ricky to walk through some of the details with this item, and council can ask any questions.
Great, thank you. Ricky Riddle, Construction Manager, Facilities Program Manager. As Mr. Irvin discussed, we very rapidly generated an RFP that we feel as Public Works staff was all-inclusive of the requirements, both legally and the expectations of the Public Works and the high-functioning Public Works Department that Mr. Najad's leadership has helped to build. With that stated, we had 3 proposing consultants. We interviewed each proposing consultant. LeFrancois Engineering was elected as the most qualified, and that is our recommendation to execute a professional services agreement and to delegate the authority to act as the city engineer to Michael LeFrancois. In coordination with LeFrancois' proposal, LSC Transportation Consultants, Bill Soon is the individual that we are recommending the delegation of authority to act as the city traffic engineer. With that, I'll open it to any questions.
Great, thank you, Mr. Riddle. Any council members with questions on this item? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and open up to public comment. Anybody in the room that would like to give public comment on item 17? All right, seeing none, we'll go to Zoom.
Yeah, we'll open up our Zoom platform for anyone who wants to provide public comment. No commenters at this time.
All right, we'll bring it back, and it looks like Mr. Jenkins would like to make a motion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the delegation of city engineer and city traffic engineer agreement with LeFrancois engineering for on-call engineering and traffic engineering services as described in the staff report.
Great, we have a motion, and anybody second?
Ton of motions already.
All right, I'll start.
I'll
No,
second it.
Mr. Roberts.
I'll second.
Great. All right, we got a motion and a second.
Motion unanimously carries.
Great. All right, we're moving on to our agenda planning calendar, and this will be Mr. Irvin.
Yes, Mayor Bass, members of the City Council. And the next meeting is also at 9 a.m. It's August 26th. It'll be our budget workshop. There are 2 items listed on the agenda planning calendar that one of them we have to bring forward regarding employee vacancies and recruitment and retention report. There's a new state law that we have to comply with, so that'll be a brief report right before we jump into the budget. And then we are also having a discussion and presentation from our assistant city manager and myself on transportation-related issues, the JPA, what's going on, kind of set some context for what the council might embark in on the budget discussion as well with regard to transportation. So then after that, our September 9th is our next meeting. A wide range of issues on that Midtown area plan, cannabis tax, cannabis grants, as well as the economic development business retention expansion program update. We've been visiting businesses, hearing from them, working on ideas to support our local businesses and identifying methods that the city council could consider to support a business retention expansion program. So I'll just highlight those for now. Those are what's on the APC in the next couple meetings.
Great. All right. Thank you, Mr. Irvin. And let's see, we will go ahead and go around, start with Mr. Robbins. Anything on APC?
I have a report from, we had the TRPA meeting on Monday, which, sorry.
Oh, we're just on the APC
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
just on
We'll do
APC.
commission-
Just seeing if you want to
we're not
have
doing
any
council member reports yet?
questions. No, this is just the APC.
Sorry.
Questions or things you might want to add? or-
Yeah, in that case, hang on, let me pull up my notes. One moment.
You want me to come back to you?
Yeah, so 2 items. There are 2 items that have come up in the last month or so with regards to the TRPA. The first is the cost of associated with traffic mobility nexus studies. When a business has a change of use for their occupancy permit, that requires a VMT analysis, and if they are required to then pay a transit fee to offset the change of use. So if a shop changes from retail to food and beverage, that's an increase in VMT impact. So then they have to pay an additional fee at that point. That fee can actually be quite substantial. The cost that it is offsetting, that is the need for transit to mitigate the VMTs, is in and of itself is reasonable given the overall goals. The problem is that it's being charged at the point at which the change of use is being made, and the challenge there is that creates another substantial cost for investing in a business. What I'd like it's not our fee, right? So what I would like to put, guys. So here's what I'd like to put on the agenda is, and there's a second one that's very similar, is to invite the TRPA representatives, their management, to come and present the mechanism by how this VMT traffic mobility mitigation fee works, and specifically if there are alternatives for which the costs associated with VMT mitigation can be assessed, so as not to inhibit business investment locally. So to invite the TRPA to come present about what this system is, and have a discussion with the TRPA about how it could be amended, because that also goes to questions about what their legal authorities are. Sure. And so to have that back and forth, I'd like to invite them to give a discussion on this topic.
I definitely support it. One thing I will say is I've been in discussions with John Hester. We're going to bring it into the local government committee because it's a 5-year window essentially when it happens. And I think there's some talk about even like a potential MOU that gives us a little more authority on our local side of things to be able to make those determinations. So there's.
So I want a form for us to give.
I get that, but if we can let that local government committee, because if we have them come in here as we're changing it at TRPA, it may be better to let it get changed and then have them come present on the changes. That's my only point, because it's actively being discussed. So
Then in
I'm
that
not-
case, I think it'd be good to have us give input. From, because one of our strategic objectives is to provide more, is to do more collaboration with regional government and to speak as a council.
I'm all for giving input, but give input to the voting members at TRPA who can change it, because I'm only one vote, and you're gonna need the support of the other counties. And so I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying, let's give input to the votes that we need at TRPA, and if those changes happen, then it makes sense for them to come and present on what we're gonna do, because it's actively like under discussion. If you go back to the last TRPA meeting, it was on our agenda, we talked about it, and I'm not disagreeing with you, I think we should totally get a presentation, but what I'm saying is if that's currently being discussed and changed, it just would make sense to have them come present on what's gonna be the active policy rather than a policy that's currently being reviewed to be changed.
Then they can present on the active policy and the proposed changes or what's
Right,
coming
but
up and
that'll
give us
just-
that update.
That'll just take the time for that to go on the agenda there, then have them come here. That's my only point. I support it.
Mr. Mayor, as one who loves debate or discussion, I know we can't get too deep in the weeds on this item, but except to say that I agree with Mr. Robbins that, and I would go back to the Sheets case in El Dorado County. We have had a discussion, and just to say there has been discussion with TRPA staff. I'm very happy in what I see happening with senior management, with Mr. Reagan and Mr. Hester, what I hearing happening with the board. But I do think it's important that for small business people who are trying to get into business, they need to understand why going from one shop to another shop, they have to pay a $2,700 fee. And I get those kind of calls, so does Mr. Irvin, and probably you do too. I think it's important at least that we frame it so we can be as supportive of you in what you do as possible. But in the end, the courts are going to make some decisions on these matters, and there are some cases that are floating up in other venues with regard. But I think it's important that we have a discussion just about the matter, as Mr. Robbins suggests, and not tying your hands, but simply giving you resources.
Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem. So Councilmember Jenkins is correct that we can't have a discussion on this item because it's not on the agenda, but it sounds like there is support to make that invitation to the TRPA. So I would suggest the city manager and TRPA can talk about the timing of that.
I support it 100%. My only comments are the timing thing, and so that we're not, but anyways, the city manager can manage that with Julie, and I'm sure they're gonna probably wanna wait till they have direction out of their governing board or local government committee.
Well, if I may, Mr. Mayor, what we discuss and what our position is, with respect to TRPA, I don't need their permission to decide when they're going to have discussion with us. I think we need to tell them when we want to have a discussion. And I have a lot of faith in Ms. Reagan, Mr. Hester, that I think we need to tell them as what we're looking for, and not just it'll happen sometime in the future when they're ready to do it. We are the elected officials of this city, not them.
Understood.
And with respect to all of them, and to you.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying for a thing of time, like if there's gonna be changes on something, let's get the presentation when the changes have happened. If it's actively being changed, that's all I'm saying.
Later.
Yeah.
So I would like to have that discussion before the changes are finalized so that we can have input.
Well, that'll be, again,
process.
I put that up to the two managers, the director of TRPA, city manager will coordinate that and figure out what's best.
So
Understand what it is, and I will reach out to TRPA and tell them we want a presentation sooner than later.
Thank you. And then, following on the heels of that, almost the same item, but different topic. The TRPA recently published their Growth Management Systems Briefing Book. It's a 98-page document on proposed changes to housing regulation in the basin. It would be ideal if it were at the same meeting, just for convenience of all parties included and travel and whatnot. But a separate agenda item from the last one. I would like the TRPA to come and give a presentation on their proposed housing policy changes. This was something that was workshopped in the community last winter. They came and gave a number of public workshops on this. This is the result. This 98-page briefing book is the result of that workshop that they did all around the basin. It's a lot, and I think it would be good to have it in interactive presentation form from the relevant staff at the TRPA, and as a different agenda item, but if it was on the same day, that would be fine too. Since it's probably going to be overlapping people.
I agree.
But I'll leave the scheduling of convenience to you guys.
I'm totally in support of that. There's what's called the Tahoe Living Working Group, which is a huge,
that's what I'm
there's a lot of public workshops and there's a whole working group. But yes, they can definitely come and I support that. But so people know, there is the Tahoe Living Working Group, which has a whole resource and a full-time staff member, so they definitely will come in and present.
And then we can discuss what's in there, and the city as an entity could give feedback and have discussions and input on it as well.
But they just had just for people's, they had at the Bijou School for the public, for any of us that want to be there to get input, and they've also gone to every community.
We can go as individuals, but we can't, Brown Act wise, we can't go and give input as a council. As a here's the city of South Lake Tahoe's input. If we want to give input in that way, I think that would
That's
be good
fine.
to have.
We can
that
do it here.
discussion.
Again, those type of things, it's good for the public to know there's a ton of opportunities for public input, including any of us that want to give input. So it's not like this has happened it's been happening for a while. That's all I'm saying.
I have given substantial input, and I would like to believe some of the items that are in here are input that I gave, although I think many people gave the same piece of input about zoning.
I support it. I'm just making it on the record so people know there's a.
But Mr. Robbins, you're so shy.
It's not being done
You're so shy.
in the dark. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying we should have it as a.
That's all I wanted to do.
I understand that ask, and I understand there's a second to support it.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and is that it for you, Mr. Robbins?
Let me.
It's
look
Hector
through my-
Macho
sorry, I'm
Camacho said
scrolling
no
through my
mas.
notes here. Come back to me if I've missed. I've got
Mr.
a long
Roberts?
list of notes, not all of it is agenda items.
I'm just curious, and is there any way we can look at, or is some conversation started, how can the council get involved in decisions on killing bears and whatnot?
I'm in full support of that, 100%.
I third it.
I'm not sure what that would look like, what direction that would go.
What's I don't like killing bears either.
Well-
What's the ask for staff to do? I didn't catch that.
It's to find
I
out
didn't-
what.
I didn't
That
follow.
is my question. Is
Exactly.
What
ask
what
staff
can
to
we
find
ask?
out. Okay,
What
go.
can we ask
What are
staff
the
to do? How
powers?
can we get involved?
Well, and let me, if I may, I'm trying to clarify, what would we as policymakers who represent the people of this community like to see happen in our community? And then what are the rules? Because in the end, what happens in our community is about whether it's the state, the feds, the fish and game, wildlife, whatever, it's in our town. So I want to be sure that we have the opportunity, I think I'm interpreting to say what we and the community want to see happen with bear traps and killing bears, not just hear what they say they're going to do. I'm really tired of state officials always thinking that they can tell us what we can do in our community. They're not elected, we are. So that's, and maybe have some representation from our friends at the Bear League. I assume that's what you were implying, yes.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, I guess it would be nice to have an answer to the question, for example.
Well, let's not discuss it. I think you got the second. They'll bring us back a full thing so we can discuss it. Yeah, because there's.
Just for clarity, what I understand is council wants some staff to come back with a report on what's being done at the state level, what the Bear League's doing, and then frame it in a way for council to give policy direction on what we want.
Yeah, what powers we have to what we can do with the local ordinance,
I'd like a
right?
bit of at least part of that to include like a legal analysis of can we ban
What can we do?
bear depredation in the community? Can we make that illegal?
Well, I don't want to be stymied, though, by people who tell us that we can't, because I've learned over many years in government there's can we legally do it, or can we take action politically to achieve our objective? So I don't want to have it cut off as to what we do. I want to say, here's what we'd like to see. Now, how do we achieve that? What are the ways, whether it's legal, whether it's through public policy advocacy at the legislature? And that's what I don't want to get stymied or cut off and say, no, you can't do that, because that doesn't, with respect to people, that doesn't take any thinking. What takes thinking is, how do we overcome that? What is the next option? How do we achieve the objective? That's what I think the community wants to hear. How do we take control of this issue in whatever manner that is appropriate? And that's what I'd like to see us do.
Great. All right. So, Mr. Roberts, yes.
One other one, and I guess this is the way to frame it, is can staff take a look at what possibilities and what the impact might be if speed bumps are added to our bike trails, at least in the straightaways, the long straightaways and whatnot? Would that be feasible? Would there be any? Would it increase safety or not? Whatnot? If staff could take a look at that.
I'm in full support of that. Yeah, and I mean, I'd even say, is there, in a way, like, what powers do we have to somewhat regulate? Can we ticket people driving out of control on an e-bike on a bike path? I'd like to know. Is that, I don't know, but just to add that to the item, possibly.
I understand that request too. We'll put it on the APC and bring it back when we can.
Thank you.
Mr. Jenkins.
I think I'm done with my.
You have no APC?
I don't have any more. I've said enough.
Okay. And I'll go back to Mr. Robbins. Did you have something else?
Not for APC. I do have a staff report, though, or council member report, though.
Okay. And then for me, for APC, I would like to see if we can bring back our sign ordinance. I know that this is a difficult thing to tackle, but my main issue is that I feel that it's very not fair to have sandwich boards allowed in the tourist core and not being able to have a sandwich board outside of the tourist core as a business. And I know recently we've taken on major sign enforcement, which I like that we're enforcing our codes, but I think this ordinance really needs to be reopened, and then maybe get some good benefit as we reopen it for businesses and improving signs.
I agree.
Great. All right. You got that?
Understood that.
All right. We got the barrel, and I think that was my other one. So I think with that, we are done with APC, and we're going to go ahead and move on to updates and announcements, and we'll start with Ms. Straub.
None for me today. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Great. Mrs. Blankenship?
Yeah, I had 2 requests for proclamations, one from Peace Love Tahoe for Suicide Prevention and Recovery Month in September. Is that okay to bring that back? Everyone's good? Okay, and the next one is from Jenny Bechtel of the Daughters of the American Revolution to bring back Constitution Week proclamation. Good? Okay, great. Those will come back.
Some of us were there when it was signed.
City Manager, Mr. Irvin.
No update from me today.
Great. All right, now we bring it back to council member reports and comments, and I'll start with Mr. Robbins.
Yesterday, Monday, was the TTD special meeting. The main item on the agenda, in addition to financial report, was the funding for, the contract between Douglas County, the TTD, and the SSTMA for LakeLink, which is now going to be, because it's now apparently a 3-way contract, ridership numbers for LakeLink will count towards public transit ridership in the South Shore, which drives the amount of funding available for the through the federal government through their formula. This funding is based on ridership, and we had lost, or the TTD rather had lost some of that funding to the North Shore in the split between the North and South Shore, because the ridership numbers were low because they weren't able to count ridership on LakeLink as part of the public transit system, which is a bureaucratic, thing that had to be overcome with another piece of bureaucratic thing. But it was. The other notable item was that Douglas County's funding for Lake Link is now a 3-year contracted funding.
Good job.
Rather than being 1-year funding, 1 year at a time. So there's an open question as to whether or not, there's an open question I've asked staff to investigate whether or not, that is of particular higher value and utility to the SSTMA to have multi-year funding so that they, presumably can do longer-term capital planning rather than 1-year funding, which is what we, the city, are funding now, 1 year at a time. It's not clear, it's not inherently clear to me that it's that big a deal one way or another, because when we talk about capital for the SSTMA, we're talking about a van. It's not like they're buying a fleet of buses and bus stations and whatnot. But I wanted to get input from the SSTMA management as to whether or not they would really benefit from multi-year funding, in which case, when that comes back to us for discussion about continued funding for SSTMA, we might want to consider funding it in a 3-year chunk.
I think there may be, if I may, without getting into debate, I think there's some question of whether we can commit funding beyond a budget year, a fiscal year, that each council each year, but that'll be something when it comes back that staff can look at.
Yeah, that's a thing it's a thing to have on deck for 2 weeks from now.
No.
And hopefully we'll get the reason I'm bringing this up is because we might talk about it next one. Hopefully we'll get a response from the SSTMA on, whether or not multi-year funding is of particularly higher value to them rather than 1 year at a time funding. And if so, then in 2 weeks, I think we should include that in our discussion. So just confirming what's in my head, Joe, is that you're reaching out to SSTMA on that. We talked about that yesterday, but I just want to make sure that that's correct. All right, very good.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Robbins. Mr. Roberts.
Nothing for today.
Great. Mr. Jenkins.
Yes, I have just a few things. One, I attended the Tahoe Gold by Lake Tahoe Community College, the foundation fundraiser. It was magnificent, was well attended for the good goal of assisting students, raising funds for student participation in college. It was a great event. I also wanted to commend our elected city treasurer, Dave Olivo, for the work that he does in investments. He's a sort of the silent partner, I call him. But I know that he works well with our fine, excellent staff, our finance staff, but give him a little shout out. Finally, it was interesting to be back in Avalon on Catalina Island and learn that the issues about housing and vacation rentals, and that is a similar issue that they are actively going through. We are not by ourselves in this issue, and no, I did not attend their council meeting, as the mayor asked me if I was going to attend, and I said no, I was on vacation, but I am going to get the staff report and provide that to the city attorney and city manager. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. And that brings it back to me. I'm actually going to go back to, I forgot there was one other second on APC I was looking for. We've gone through for the past couple of years with Heavenly on these issues. We've kind of moved out of the annexation issue, and I would like to have and see if I have the support for staff to open up conversations again around the Blower Ski Run area. I say this because we're not moving forward with annexation, and what benefits can we both get by trying to have that discussion open back up. I've thought of things like if we can provide some passes for our first responders, if we can try to improve that ski run area and Heavenly can participate in some of those ways. Again, I think, we all know why we moved into those positions was because the annexation, but we're kind of in a new day, and I'm not saying that those discussions even bring anything, but I do think it's responsible to have our staff work with their staff and see if something can come from that. And if it doesn't, it doesn't, but that'll be a future discussion. I think it's just, yeah.
If all we do is cave to Vail, what was the point
it's not about, we can have that discussion
Mayor
when
Pro
we get
Tem,
there.
yeah, this is just whether there's a second to bring that agenda item back to council.
I don't see why this shouldn't even be up for discussion. I mean,
Well, that's when we'll have that discussion when we
more
get there.
giveaways to the big corporations that aren't
Giveaway,
doing their part.
maybe we get what we want. maybe.
We
it
wanted
helps us.
annexation.
So let's
They
have that
said
discussion
no.
when we get there. That'll be.
Why are we
discuss-
caving?
Hold on,
We
we're
can't
not
discuss an
caving,
item that's
man.
not on the agenda.
that's your
So
opinion,
is there
and
a second to bring it back?
There was a second, Mr. Jenkins
Heather,
second.
If I may, within the context of the report, I think it's important that we look at what the economics are of what is provided, what we provide, what they provide in any conversation, so that the council and the community has an appreciation on both sides, what we all do, what each of us bring to the table. And maybe, what I understand the mayor's saying is that we start courting again in a way that maybe leads to something that's better for both of us.
In this meeting today, you said they needed to do their part, and they spat in our face.
But hold on, we'll have this discussion when it comes back. So let's
I
just-
understand the item.
Yeah.
I heard an ask in a second.
Great. With that, I have, let's see, I did attend a TRPA meeting, I guess that was last week. There was the RTP, which is our Regional Transportation Plan. Very interesting document. It's a 5-year document. Anybody that's into transportation, check it out. I am really excited to say that the gondola proposal was included, which really allows us to now go back to Caltrans and say, look, this project's in our RTP, which will get them looking at that in a real factor. So that was a great thing that I thought. But again, I would encourage anybody to really review that document. One other thing that was there was something that has been a longstanding TRPA policy, which was to say that there could be no new uses here at our airport. I take contention with that because I see a future of electric aircraft and a future that will have electric air taxis between Sacramento and Reno. And if we didn't allow any new use, we couldn't get the funding we need to put electric infrastructure. So I took,
Bring that back to us? Or?
well, I took contention, and let's let our city manager and see kind of where but it very well needs to come back to us.
Okay, well, I would support that.
Yeah. So let's see what they come up with, and then if it does, I will definitely make sure we do that.
Fly me to
And so with that, I think we are adjourned. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you did a good job conducting this meeting, and you didn't hit me with this, and I truly appreciate it.
That's what that's all.
Yeah, right.